Hi guys, in today's video I wanted to talk a little bit about managing your time as a developer or a designer, because this is something that I've personally had an issue with in the past, but I think I've got a better grip on it now and I'm sort of balancing my time out really well. What ended up happening in the past was that I was really enthusiastic about developing and designing. I had a lot of energy and I was young still, and this meant that I would spend a ridiculous amount of time just putting in all that work. And it would mean that I would be working maybe 12 hours or more every single day in development and in design. And what this brought up was unrealistic expectations. So when you have a website and you need to deliver it, you'll normally get asked how long this should take you. And what ends up happening is you'll give an estimate in hours. Maybe you'll say 40 hours, maybe you'll say 80. And this also equates to how much time you would spend in a week. So if you're estimating 40 hours, that's about one working week more or less. But what ended up happening was sometimes we got really large websites which would take up to 60 to 80 hours to complete. And while they would take more time to complete, I would still quote out that I could do them in a single week. And when I did this meant that I would have to spend 10 to 12 hours a day making them. And while I achieved this and put all my energy into completing them, to the point where I was really happy with them, it also meant that I didn't have any time for myself. It meant that sometimes I was skipping meals. It also meant that sometimes I wasn't spending time with my family or my friends or even my own hobbies. And this mismanagement of time meant that over a long period, I would essentially be getting burnt out because I would be pushing myself a little bit too hard. It was also creating unrealistic expectations. For example, if you're delivering on a gigantic project which should take 80 hours in a single week, then the expectation is made that you'll be able to do this again. And maybe you will. Maybe the next time a website project comes up and you need to put in another 80 hours in a single week, you'll be able to do that too. But there's only so many times you can do this, and for me personally, that's essentially what happened. I burnt myself out and I worked too hard and too many hours each week. I stopped seeing my family for almost a month because I was working so hard trying to deliver on projects. And at the end of the day, no one cared whether I spent a week on it or 2 weeks, because that wasn't the important part. In design and in development, the end result is a website. And whether that takes a week or two to deliver on is not really as important as whether the website is good or not. And because of that, I learned the lesson that it's more important to give yourself a little bit more time to work on a project rather than working on it extremely hard and setting aside essentially no time for yourself. So these days, when I get a quote to deliver a website, when I say that it's going to take 40 hours, I usually estimate a little bit more. I usually estimate maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks to deliver it. This gives me more time to work on it, and it also gives me more time for myself in case anything else pops up. A lot of the times with websites, you'll have people that'll have a lot of changes that want to come in and do. They'll want revisions, and sometimes you might even have to put out fires and issues with other clients. So by giving yourself more time to work on this, you'll essentially be making sure that you're managing your own time better. With development and design, the other thing I found that had an issue for me when I was doing time-wise things was essentially making sure that I was producing the top quality work that I could. And what this meant was that if I did do a piece of work for someone, which was meant to be about 4 hours during the workday, and I wasn't happy with it personally, I would go back home, and when I get home, I would continue to work on it in my personal time, simply because I myself wanted the website or the page or the feature to have a higher level of quality. And this higher level of quality was at the expense of my own personal time. And while the client usually appreciates hard work, they usually don't want to pay for things outside of their budget. And if their budget is really small and they only want to put in so much time, one of the things that's important to understand is to be able to deliver on the expectation of what that is. Because as soon as you start putting in your own time and effort out of your own personal life, then you'll be building up that expectation for the future that you'll be always doing that. And that might not even be billable work. It might not even be good for you in the long run, because the client will see that maybe in the future you'll stop doing that. And they'll think that you no longer care for them, where it's really that you still do, but you just don't have the time to put in for them because you've got other work to do as well, and you've got your personal life too. Anyway, these are my aspects on managing my time. My time's pretty important to me nowadays, especially with the fact that I've got a family and a son, and I want to learn more as well in development and design. So these days I try to manage it really well. I have lots and lots of calendars, I have lots of checklists, and it means that I can really balance out everything quite well. But I'm still having some difficulty because I still have the issue of trying to do the best quality I can, and sometimes I still do put in more personal time that I actually bill for. And this is just, I think, that personal touch that I personally like to do. But what about you guys? Do you guys have time management issues, or is it just me? Love to know. Anyway, my name is Adrian. I do development and design videos, so if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.